Hello from Tel Aviv and a warm welcome to a new Vodcast series called Young Progressive Voices from Israel. The format gives a platform to representatives of the young generation in Israel to express their hopes, their fears, their perceptions in very difficult times, and to share these thoughts with an international audience of progressive youth. My name is Ralf Melzer, and I'm heading the Israel office of the Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung. The Vodcast series is a production by the Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung Israel, and each of the episodes are co-hosted and jointly distributed by a European Social Democratic Youth Organization. Our partners today are the German Jungsozialisten, the Jusos, and that's the youth organization of the German Social Democratic Party, SPD. And I'm very happy that today the head of the Jusos, Philipp Turmer, is with us via Zoom in Berlin. Hi, Philipp.
Hello, it's a pleasure joining you today.
Philipp and I will be jointly moderating our talk today. And here in the studio in Tel Aviv are our two guests for today. Noa Hassidov. She is the co-chairwoman of the Young Democrats, the youth organization of the party, the Democrats, recently established party by a merger between Avoda and Meretz.
Yeah, really nice to be here.
Hi,
Thank
Noa.
you.
And next to her is Shachar Tenenbaum. Shachar is a Young Democrats board member and at the same time alumni network manager of Hachalutz, a social democratic non-partisan organization for young adults. And let me start by asking you, Noa, how the 7th of October and the war that followed did change your life?
Wow, that's a big question. I think that almost every Israeli met the loss of someone he loved. Some of my friends and a family of my husband fell on 7th October. And I can say that at the beginning it was the main struggle to start and living a life without your loved ones. And then after the big shock, we start working about our loved country, start helping every man that we could try and help. As you know, we still have 101 hostages kept in Gaza. At the beginning of the war, it was 251. So I can say that was the main thing that I try to be active about. And since the 7th October, our country changed. And obviously, it is reflecting also our personal lives.
Yeah, there was a huge momentum of solidarity within the civil society in Israel. But you showed that Hachalutz also joined this movement. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about what you did in the meantime?
On October 8th, we launched a civil war room in Haifa to assist with hundreds of volunteers to help the evacuated communities all over Israel. Communities who basically escaped their villages in northern Israel and in near the Gaza border, to help them with civil assistance, with education, operation to guide the youth and the children who didn't have any option to go to school in the beginning. And as the war continued, we tried to understand what we need to do now. One of the things we did is with hundreds of volunteers who assisted us, formed new educational institutions in the Gaza border communities in Israel to help them rehabilitate the awful region which was, and it's important to say, neglected by the right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think as a progressive also, it was, I'm not going to say an opportunity, but we had the need to organize young progressives in Israel who understand the awful things, the awful neglection of the government, and do a huge effort to make Israel better.
Yes, thank you, Shachar and Noah, for your impression and thoughts. As it's how your generation felt after the attacks. I was last time in Israel, I think, in May, and being back there, we had many discussions, and you see the critics among Israeli society, especially criticizing Netanyahu and his right-wing government being highly responsible for not controlling the border to Gaza enough and not being prepared enough for the attacks. And everyone was hoping for new elections coming soon, so the Israeli people could decide about the strategy for the future after the collapse of the strategic approach of the right-wing government under Bibi Netanyahu. And since then, actually, not much happened. And as from observing Israeli politics from Germany, there is still no possibility for new elections. There's nothing like an appointment. Kind of ironically, we will have sooner new elections in Germany now than you will have in Israel. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit about your views on this topic. Will there ever be new elections, or will Netanyahu simply go all over the whole term, which kind of seems ridiculous after this big failure of Israeli security policy under his government?
Noah is the optimist one. I'm not sure when there's going to be elections in Israel, but I'm pretty sure that then when there are going to be elections, there won't be a fair elections. And Netanyahu is getting stronger as the war goes on. And this is what we see all over the world. Fascist powers get stronger in the times of crisis. And the reason I'm pessimistic is because I see in Germany the rise of the AfD. We see Donald Trump getting back in the USA. We see in Israel the strengthening power of the extreme right wing. And it's not only bringing me to pessimism, but it brings me to an understanding that we need to work globally and internally in Israel much stronger to bring a democratic liberal and a social democrat government and to offer a true alternative to the Israeli nation.
I can add that also as young people, I think that one of our jobs and our responsible is to be really strong on social media. That we can see there a crazy amount of hate of Israel, and I think that a lot of us became more active in the social media, and we're doing a lot of campaigns about the right of Israel to fight on her life, on her citizens. So one hand is struggling inside Israel, and the other hand is trying to struggle outside Israel and make sure that every people that we can try and convince will believe that we have a right to be in Israel, to fight for ourselves, and to promise security in Israel.
Thank you, Philip. We all know this very polarized public climate internationally, including Germany, in particular when it comes to the current situation here in the region. How do the users deal with this situation? How do try to, react on this? How are your internal discussions when it comes to Israel, to your relations with the young socialists here, but also when it comes to the political situation in general?
Yes, thank you for your question. First of all, I think I want to underline that also in my perception, the critics towards Israel, especially in the international community, is disproportional. You see, and that the perspective of Israel being attacked from Hamas is way too less in the public perception, and especially on the international field. And we as users, we perceive our role. We have a moral compass. I would describe it as double solidarity. So we feel the obligation, showing our solidarity towards Israel, and on the other hand, you see, aiming really strong for pushing forward an agenda that leads to a long-lasting peace for the region. And in my perception, this, and I know that the Israeli left is in support of this perspective, that the only perspective for security for all people in the region, for the Israeli people, for the Palestinian people, is pushing forward a two-state solution agenda. And maybe that's something I would be interested to hear of you, what your ideas are, how to solve this war and how to end this ongoing very bad situation for both sides.
First of all, I want to say that users in the SPD party are successfully holding this double solidarity agenda for years. I think it's heartwarming. They were one of the only social democrat organizations, together with the DSU in Denmark and a few other, that kept being in solidarity with their comrades in Israel. I think I'm not taking it for granted, and I think it's very, very important. And it's important for me to say to you directly, Philip. I think you talked about the two-state solution and peace. I think it's inevitable. At the end, there will be two states between Jordan and the sea. It's only a matter of time, and it's only a matter of how many people from both sides are gonna get killed until we get to that solution. I think that when it comes to the war, for us as Israelis, for a long time, I'm going to speak for myself as a social democrat. For a long time, it was about suggesting strategies and understanding exactly what to do. Today, I am very clear about it. The only solution to the war is Netanyahu stepping down as Prime Minister of Israel. There is no solution to the war in Gaza with Netanyahu as Prime Minister. And if I'm trying also to speculate, when there's election in Israel, Netanyahu will more firmly work for a hostage deal, even though Hamas is right now the one not allowing a hostage deal. But when there will be elections, I hope the ending of the war will be much closer.
I agree. I can say that I think that one of the hardest things at the beginning of the war was that also the left people in Israel became more and more right and forgot the solidarity with Gaza and with the Palestinians. And I think that as long as we are continuing the war, some of the ideologic are getting back, and I think that the left people are, and also people that didn't believe in two-state solution are starting to believe that that is the only solution and we have no other chance. So this is one of the things that make me a bit more sure that it will happen, because I think that more and more people in Israel begins to understand that we don't have a future without it.
Thank you very much for your very differentiated analysis. And I mean, we see day by day that this government in Israel has no concept, no plan, and also no way, no idea how to really resolve the core conflict. But there's also the progressive camp. I mean, voices like you. And how come that actually your positions are hardly heard internationally? How come that there's such a strong, let's say, a strong perception only from what comes from the far right, some crazy guys who advocate in favor of again building settlements in Gaza, etc. That's very much present, and that's at least often the impression outside Israel that voices like you are hardly heard. How come?
I think it's not only a situation in Israel that the left is seldom heard internationally, but I think it's a problem for progressive worldwide. I think that when a politician from the AfD in Germany says something racist, it will suddenly be viral. They will be very popular in social media. And we see it in Israel. Itamar Ben-Gvir is much more viral than any other liberal, democrat, socialist politician in Israel. And I think that it is also a globally struggle to understand how to create a better megaphone for progressive voices, progressive young voices, especially using social media, using other communication methods. And I know that in Germany you're tackling with it as well. I think it's a huge global problem, because conspiracy theories in TikTok and in Instagram, they flourish. And this is fantastic for the extreme right wing. And when Netanyahu or Ben-Gvir or Smotrich speak, all the world is gonna speak about it. But it's our responsibility to be better at that, to better market ourselves and to better suggest creative solutions in viral ways.
Yeah, and that's probably also something where the users and the young Democrats can very intensively cooperate in the future. That's at least what I hope. And as you said, we are all confronted with these conspiracy theories, and we see that democracy is under threat worldwide. And here in Israel, there's already this long history of the fight against the judiciary overhaul, and we still see tendencies of undermining separation of power, limiting free speech, limiting the freedom of media. So these are probably fields, right, where you guys here in Israel, but also the users in Germany and international youth organizations can cooperate. Do you agree, Philip?
Yes, of course. I think you see, defending the rule of law is, of course, our common goal. And I think the big protests against the judicial reform plans of Benjamin Netanyahu, they were kind of one of the big moments of success of the Israeli left, and strongly perceived in the international community as well. Maybe I have another question to what Shachar said, because you see, of course, you need to solve the problem of security, especially at the northern border, at the Lebanese border, and we saw that Israeli was kind of performing successfully attacks against the Hezbollah throughout the last month. What is your perspective on this conflict at the moment? Because you see, from an international perspective, it seems like the Hezbollah is strongly weakened, and that this organization actually does not exist anymore in the way it did before those attacks were performed against Hezbollah. But you see, this is kind of only the first step, but the second step would be how to establish a stable relationship with the Lebanon, and how to kind of, you see, solve this this second front in the long run for the Israeli state. What are your thoughts on this and your perspective on kind of stabilizing this northern front in the long run?
First of all, if you're looking to see progressive social media succeeding, follow Usos. They have great content, and that's first of all. I thought about it beforehand. About the northern front, first of all, we need not only to see it as a northern front or a southern front, but it's all part of the same war that is, controlled from afar by Iran, who want to weaken Israel and to attack us from all fronts at the same time.
Our first mission is to bring back home all our hostages. We cannot talk about anything else. We cannot do anything else unless they are back home, because we will never trust our country and our government if we will left them back there. So I would like to say that everything we talked about has to be on that context. It needs to be our first mission, and it goes together with and our government.
Thank you. Yeah, let's hope for this positive and hopeful momentum, and let's hope for change, for political change to the better. And with that, thank you very much. This was our first episode, and thanks, of course, as well to Philipp in Berlin. It was a pleasure talking to you. See you soon at our next episode with young progressive voices from Israel. Thank you.